Hi, and welcome to Jeff's Travel and Fix-Its. This will be my first episode that I'm going to be doing here. Working on a 2005 Fleetwood Bounder 34H turbo diesel. And as you can see here, it's in pretty good shape. But some of the issues that I've run into several along the way. It's no big deal. It's to be expected with an older motorhome. The kitchen dinette slide out stops every time I slide it out. It stops part way. So I thought maybe the motor was going bad. My last trip out, actually it refused to go out, and I was a little concerned. I was going to look up a motor. They get quite expensive. So I thought, well, maybe I should give it one more try, figure out how to fix it. There's a couple things wrong. It's a little bit out of alignment. It's about 3/4 off on the trailing edge when it goes in. It sticks out just a little bit. You can see it on the cargo doors when it's in. But the problem is when it's sliding out, it stops part way. It seems to be a consistent thing every time. Seems to stop about the same spot. So I thought I would get in there and lubricate everything and see if I could figure out exactly what was causing it. I've done lubrication already, and it fixed it. I was able to slide it out, slide it back in, no problem. So I'm going to get it underneath one more time, show you some of the points that I lubricated on it and what I used. That way you could do the same for preventive maintenance and possibly keep you from having to replace your motor. Okay, a quick rundown of what I'm doing here. So I take a folding table, slide it underneath my unit as a backer board to get underneath. Here's the supplies that I'm using, gloves if needed, tape measure so I can measure how far off I'm on the slide out. Head flashlight helps me out. It's quick lube. This quick lube is what I use to lubricate all the points except underneath the slide out itself inside, and for that I use some silicone spray. I'll show you what I was doing there. You'll need the crowbar, pry bar, to get the gear out of place underneath, along with the hammer possibly, and some pliers to pull the pin out. Let me get underneath. So here's the back underneath side of my compartments, looking up behind them here. And here is a gear this is on the rear side, this gear assembly here. So where I'm lubricating in here. Of course I lubricated in here. I lubricated these bearing wheels here in the center and on the edges. Alright, I was told not to lubricate this track here. Now as you can see, these teeth are worn a bit right here. I think that's probably why it skips a little bit and then it doesn't retract in all the way. So I don't know how in the world I would replace that tracking piece. Anyway, what I'm going to end up doing is, to get this thing lined up, is to pull a pin on one side. I've done this once before. Actually pull the pins, and I slide this gear piece out of the way. Alright, and in doing that, it disengages the track on this side and allows me to push the whole unit in. It's difficult to do, but doable. So let me show you the other lubrication point in the center that I did. Of course, on the other end of this thing, I did the very same thing. Lubricated all the points that I can along the way, in here, up in here, I should say right in there, and here, to get all that going really well. And I also did the tracking, and I'll show you where I did that as well. Okay, so my slide out is not out, doesn't give me much room. So you're probably not supposed to lubricate this piece, but I did right here because it's attached to the gearbox, I guess, and I put a little oil on each side of that. All right, so there's the assembly. You have to you don't have to disassemble. You just have to disengage that motor. You'll pop it to one side. It disengages the motor. That way it allows you to push your slide one way or the other for adjustment. So again, I don't have much room under here. That's because you don't want the slide out very far when you're doing this adjustment. It's out just a little bit, kind of keep it balanced a bit. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to remove this pin right up here, this cutter pin, snap pin, or whatever you want to call it. I'm going to pull that out. I'm going to use a pry bar, and I'm going to actually push this over out of the way of the track. Now I might have to lubricate this a little bit right here. I've done this once before and trying to get this same problem fixed. So basically it's a telescoping type of rod. It'll push in here, but I've got to get this pin out of the way to do it. It doesn't have to go very far, just enough to disengage the gears there. As you can see, I pulled the pin, but what I failed to do is on the other side disengage the motor. Right, so I'm going to have to slide over there again. I don't have much room, right? So I'm going to have to go over there, disengage the motor, come back, and then slide that gear out of the way. So how tiring or hard is this fix? Not really. Except your back will hurt because you're laying on the ground, not much room. Yeah, your neck gets really tired if you're having to lift your head up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tap this guy right here. Tap this guy right here. Get it out of the way. Okay, after a sufficient amount of tapping, it's now out of the way, disengaged. So now I'm going to go back up, see if I can push this thing back in by myself. I weigh just under 200 pounds, 6'2". So let's see if I can manage pushing this thing back a little bit. Okay, now to measure how far off I am. I'm along the front. I wouldn't recommend measuring from this edge because this is a little bit flexible here. So I'm going to go by this solid surface right here and the solid surface right here. So you look at this side. Oops, sorry. Look at this side here. And it's just under 2 inches of what I'm looking at there. Now if I come to the other side and look at this one, let's see here, solid surface, it's just under 3 inches. So I'm going to have to push this back edge in a little bit. Sorry I can't have to hold the camera and let you watch me struggle on this, but I've done it once before, and it's kind of like the linebacker approach. You just get in, push, 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 and hopefully don't go too far on this thing. Okay, I've pushed and shoved, and the front, looking at the front, it's 2 and something, if you can see that, 2 and something there, just a little bit. And take a look at the other side. Let's see what I got here. 2 and something. About 1/8 maybe. It looks like I'm there. Looks like I'm right on the money. So what I did is I just got right here in the corner, put my shoulder into it, and just kind of shove, shove, shove. I could feel it sliding along, and all was well. All right, so let me get back underneath, re-engage that gear. You know, now I remember seeing those teeth down there and why. I'm going to get one more tool, a pair of vice grips, and I'm going to snap it onto the telescoping rod, so I have something to hold while I hammer to get that gear back in place. Okay, the ever versatile vice grips. You can see here, I've got it clamped onto the shaft. Alright, so I'm going to tap it back into place. Of course I can't hold a hammer when I'm doing it, but I'll give you the end result when it gets back in there, and I'll put the pin back in at the end. Alright, so I just tapped on the vice grips. I had to give this a little bit of a jiggle as I was going along so the teeth would line up. But easy peasy. Went right back in there, and I'll put the pin back in, and this part will be done. Of course, don't forget, you got to relatch that motor down there. Alright, if you forget that, nothing's going to work right. Okay, I ran it out and ran it back in. Didn't sound like it was lined up very well, but it kind of straightened out a little bit. But as you can see now, on the front side, this is up pretty flush. You can see here, this is actually pulled in a little bit on the front, and it's not on the back. And on the back, see how it sticks out a little bit? A little bit of a gap right there. That's what I was trying to fix. It is sealing. It's a rubber seal in there. It is sealing up. It just seems that the back side is supposed to stick out a little bit because of that rubber seal. But it seems that the back side sticks out a little more than the front. Front doesn't have as much of a gap. So that's what I was trying to fix. So I'll run it in and out a couple more times, and I'll show you a couple lubrication points I think that are essential that nobody really talks about. So here inside, I have lubricated with some rubber protectant. I don't know what you call it. Conditioner, I guess. I sprayed the rubber seal around as much as I could, but it seems to be like a little, it's like a Teflon pad or something right here. So you have to remember, this thing is sliding on that. So there's one in the front, there's one in the back. The front one I could spray with silicone. The back one I had to spray the silicone on my hand, go up under the counter, and rub it on there. Let me show you where that is. My fridge is open because I'm kind of in storage mode at the moment. Let me get down here, turn the flashlight on. You can see what I'm talking about. Oh, can't see it when I'm slid in. So when I'm slid out, I'll show you that slide piece there. Okay, so now I'm slid out all the way, and you can see that that Teflon slide piece there, or rubber slide piece. I'm not sure what it is. But I sprayed some silicone on there with my hand, rubbed it around on it pretty good. Hopefully that will ease things along for the slide going in and out. Alright, so let me go back outside again and show you a couple more lubrication points that I used. Okay, with it slid all the way out, you can see right underneath here. Now the reason it's white is because I've sprayed some lithium on this before, lithium grease, thinking that would help. Of course, I've got this quick lube I'm using now. It seems to work better. So in this channel right here, I soaked it pretty good along the top. I tried to spray it along the back. I sprayed on the top of this this metal piece here and along the side, and I did that on the other side as well. There's enough for it to drip down and everything, get on there, so hopefully we'll lubricate that slide really well and allow the unit to slide in and out. Well, that's going to be it for this Fix It today. It did okay, not great, so it's not pulled in all the way. I don't want to do it again, and maybe when I get it into a Fleetwood service center, I'll have them take a look at it and see what they have to say about it. But this time around it was pretty good. I think the lubrication was probably a good idea on the slide out. I'll probably have to do the same on the other slides, just as preventive maintenance. But that's all for this time. Thanks.